So we have Charlie Hunter with us, everyone. So this is Mary Long with the Plein Art Painter Chicago. And Charlie, this will be recorded. So just so that people can refer back to their own paintings. But we are so grateful for you taking your time from Vermont tonight to participate with us. Where do you live?
I live in Bellows, Vermont. It's a small dead mill town on the Connecticut River, right on the border with New Hampshire.
Oh, sounds beautiful. And Charlie, one of the reasons I wanted to reach out to you is what somebody just said to you is, you know, I'm so impressed with your painting and have been following you as a plein air painter. And so wanted to just get your take on our paintings. So that's why we wanted you for the Plein Air Painter Chicago. We've been doing these since March, and every week we've had a variety of different folks. And so all of us get a chance to just really hear great comments about our paintings. And so that's part of what this is. With the number of paintings, Charlie is going to try to get through them, but if he has a hard cutoff, so if we're going to start, please mute yourselves. And if Charlie's going to try to get through all these, and but if he doesn't, that's where we are. We can save him for next week, or you can decide whatever else you'd like to do with your painting. Charlie, tell us a little bit about your background in art and plein air painting and all that.
Sure. Well, you know, like so many of us, I used to plein air paint before I knew that was what I was doing. You know, my background was I was an art major in college, but what I really wanted to do was design record covers. And I got a job in college working at a rock nightclub, and where all the showcasing artists of the 70s and early 80s came through. And after that, long story, but I got hired by a company that did touring posters for rock bands that were on tour. So I did, you know, everybody from Billy Idol to Jerry Garcia, all these tour posters, and didn't really paint at all, didn't really have a idea that I was going to paint. And then from doing the design, I became a music manager and managed singer-songwriters for 12 years. And tired of that, it was right before the music business collapsed, but I didn't get out because I was smart. I just got out because I was sick of it. I moved back to Vermont, where I was from, and started painting again. My senior year in college, the acting dean had forced me to take a painting class. And I was like, oh, Mr. Reed, do I have to? He's like, yes, you have to. So I started painting again in the early 2000s. And fortunately, you know, I was going out with acrylics, going outside and painting, no real idea what I was doing, because I'd done acrylics in that one semester in college. I ended up there was a art school called Great River Arts that was in Walpole, New Hampshire, and then moved across the river to Bellows Falls. And I made a deal with them that I would just be the water boy. I would, you know, if any of it's weekend workshops with well-known artists. It's the usual pattern. But I got to take all the classes for free. But if somebody needed coffee, or if you needed to drive the instructor to the Amtrak or whatever, that was my job. So I got to study with maybe 20 wonderful artists, you know, from Stuart Shills, Eric Aho, Paul Chingbor, just wonderful, wonderful people. And just realized how many ways there are to a truth. And that's the thing I want folks tonight to be thinking about, is to be thinking about your own way of telling the story. It's not that there is one particular way that is the right way. The right way is the way that feels in your heart, like, yeah, that's what it feels like to be alive. You know, because in the mid 2000s, I was just trying all these different styles. And one weekend with the Stuart Shills workshop, I started painting very low quality.
You're on that?
I started painting very low chroma, almost monochromatically. And Schultz was like, I think that's working really well for you. And I just basically ran with that because I felt, yeah, I mean, we all know what it's like when you're out there painting and you're like, why the hell am I doing this? Is this right? You know, you're just kind of adrift. And it was the first time where I didn't feel adrift. I felt like I was telling the story that I wanted to tell. And that was about.
And what is it about? What is it about low chroma? What is it for you?
Well, I always, as a kid, I was a rather strange child, I suppose. But I mean, my dad was a printer, so I always grew up around a lot of graphic elements. And I spent a lot of time looking at like Dorothea Lange and Walker Evans, the WPA photos. And then I took a lot of photography in college. So to me, the lexicon of photography has always been just as real as the lexicon of painting. And I like the idea of playing with people's perceptions so that if, I mean, most people, there's kind of a cliche that people get annoyed when people say, oh, that looks just like a photograph. I like playing with that trope because if you can get people to suspend their disbelief to climb into the painting because they say that looks photographic and then mess with them a bit, that's really it's really fun. And I think it can kind of subvert some of the presumptions we tend to make about looking at a painting.
What are some of the things that you mess with then once they get in the painting?
Well, things I love, I use, all of you need to buy my video, by the way. That's why I'm doing this. I'm just doing this to plug the video. Because the cats need the good food. And they only get the good food if we sell videos. Otherwise, they just starve. But no, in the video, I talk a lot about the various tools I use. And one of the things I really like is Bounty paper towel as opposed to Viva paper towel. A lot of plein air painters use Vivas because Viva has basically no pattern. Well, I really like the pattern on Bounty paper towel because if you press it against a wet painting surface and then pull it back, it leaves what look like old halftone dots. So that adds to the illusion of photographic truthfulness, even though it's a complete fabrication. But I mean, so many of them, have people been watching a lot of the Eric Rhodes Time interviews? Boy, I mean, the amount of great information that is in there amongst Eric, you know, hawking all his Eric products. But
he has cats too.
He does, yes. Yes, he must have a lot of them.
A lot of them.
But one of the things that people say over and over is the necessity of drawing. That drawing is so crucial to understanding getting a command of the artistic language. But then people, one of the things I try to do when I am painting from life is to stop thinking about the thing that I'm looking at as that thing. And instead, I try to abstract it down to shapes, the big form, the way that curves there, the way the light is hitting the side of the building looks like a letter C. It looks like a letter C in the typeface Garamond. And by divorcing it from thinking about it as light hitting cement blocks, and instead thinking I'm trying to make it look like a Garamond C, that really helps for me to abstract the depiction to get the shape that I need to have the thing look counterintuitively more realistic. That's one of the joyful, I mean, that's part of why this is all so much fun, right, everybody? Is that it's so much of it, the more we learn, is so sort of counterintuitive and just an endless chess game almost with our own brains, you know?
So people are asking about where they can get the video. And so.
Yay, yes, that's the correct question. You can just go to 100-studio.com, my website, and there's a link there, or go to Streamline Art Videos. But you can find it. If you're looking for it, you can find it. Or you can come to my house and I'll tell you one.
It's also in the email that I sent out that if you just look a little deeper into the email, Charlie's address for that is there, his email address. So, well, Charlie, any other things that you would like to impart to us before you start doing the critiquing?
No, I think we should just dive right in. Feel free, why don't you monitor, Mary, you monitor the comments. And if there are questions, you ask me rather than having everybody jumping in. Okay?
Okay, so that's what we're going to do, everybody. And the other thing that we will do, go ahead and you can start sharing. There probably won't be a lot of interaction. We're just going to get through as many as we can. We have a hard stop at 7:30. So if Charlie has a question for you, he will definitely ask, but we will just go through as quickly as we can to get to as many as we can.
Yeah.
And please put your comments in chat and I will pass them on to Charlie.
And is the screen sharing correctly now for you guys?
Looks perfect. Yep,
great.
It's great.
All right, so the first painting we've got is it pronounced Kuhn? Kuhn?
Kuhn. Mm-hmm.
Kuhn. And this was the original. This is what Kuhn was looking at, and this is the painting. So, to me, what works beautifully in this, and what I'll try to do is kind of talk about things, what works, and where a quick kind of a couple of suggestions about where one might go with it, or what one might look at in terms of tweaks and stuff. And of course, what I'm saying is everything on all the paintings, it's just my opinion. One of the best things I ever heard about art is a friend of mine's 8th grade teacher. Her mantra was, it's just art, you don't have to like it. And so if you disagree with what I say, just go with it. You know, don't worry about it. But I'm saying these things for a reason. I mean, I've got a artistic philosophy. I'm not saying them flippantly. But what I think works beautifully on this piece is the sense of being inside the shadow area, looking out into this world of light. I feel like the narrator is telling us a story of, here I am in the dark area, looking out at this. It feels like it may be very humid out in the larger world. The tones and the shapes are so soft against the hardness of the shapes in the shadow. So I get a sense of real atmospheric coolness in the shadow, whereas it may be humid and kind of, you know, uncomfortably hot outside, outside that shadow area. I love the play of light and dark on the forest floor. That kind of the lattice work that he's got going on.
Thank you.
And the line that curves, it starts at the bottom, the absolute bottom center. It's a dark line that curves in kind of a half circle up to that hard edge between the dark and the light. Do you see what I'm talking about? Okay, can you guys see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna, it's this line. I think that leads us in beautifully. Now, the one thing I have a hard time with, this line right here is so sharp. Now, he does break it up here. He breaks it up here with the with the leaves, in the foreground, and that's very nice too. The light on the leaves, and right here where it breaks up that hard line between the forest and the light. That works really well. But right here is so hard. Think about edges a lot, everybody. Think about edges are so determinative on how our eye looks at something. Up here, up in the trees, there's this, it's more painterly, the contrasts are less, the edges are less sharp. This is the hardest edge in the painting, and I would like to see it broken up a little bit more like it is here. But I mean, I feel like there is a real story being told, and I think it's pretty great. Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
Thank you.
Is that a good kind of?
That was perfect.
Okay, awesome. Well, we've got Clayton J. Beck here. What the hell can I say about Clayton J. Beck that hasn't already been said? The bravura painter of our time, the Chicago bad boy, Clayton J. Beck, forcing attractive young women to sit out in the blazing sun without their clothes on. Is Clayton J. Beck here tonight?
Clayton,
Yes.
I made you. There he goes.
He
Hey,
is.
Charlie.
He is here. Hey, Clayton, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Great.
Good.
I'm going to go to this one because that one has so much light lens flare up here that it. Now, I mean,
Yeah, that was an earlier stage.
Clayton Beck is a terrific. Oh yeah, right. So you have the bravura down here, and up here you filled in the whole thing. Just look at how beautifully he steps the viewer into the painting with these diagonals. The rocks, they're drawing the viewer into the focal point, which is the attractive young woman without any clothes on. Which is always an excellent focal point, ladies and gentlemen. And for you ladies out there, they can be attractive young men without any clothes on too. That's fine. I'm equal opportunity there. But look at how, one of the things I love on this is the warm that he's got in the tree branches up here that speak back to the warmth in the flesh tones. And I think that's very important. Look at the warmth in his dark darks. That unifies the painting. If those darks were colder, that figure would be isolated. But because the warmth is in the shadows, it unifies the nominal subject with the larger natural environment. Nice paint handling. I mean, you know, it's juicy. That's a lovely little passage there. Nice contrast. Nice, not overworking the tree branches. And then it gets down. The shadow areas down here are nicely seen. How long a pose was this, Clayton?
This was about 3.5 hours or so.
Yeah, that's really nice. Nice breaking up of shapes. See, again, just as with Hans Kuhn's last one, using leaves in a painterly manner to break up big, dark shapes is a really effective way to transition us through. Really nice piece there, Clayton. All right, and now let's see, is there a, yeah, okay, so this was the original.
Thanks, Charlie.
And yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, if you have the opportunity, you all probably do since you're out there in Chicagoland, but Clayton's workshops are fantastic, I think. Anyway, oops, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, wrong way. Okay, this was the original. Now, to me, this would be so hard to paint because I can't find, to my eye, I'd be like, what am I painting here? What am I painting here? So, what, is this Mary's painting?
It is.
Uh-oh, I better be careful.
We'll have at it.
Now, was the photo taken before or after the session?
Probably right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, okay. Because I think you've done a terrific job of building a story out of something that I don't see me personally, doesn't see a story here. You saw something and went into it. Again, the light dark of the shadows is a nice way in, because there's this, we come in kind of through here and through there. Now I find us going over here, and that's a little bit of a dead end. One thing I would like to see is maybe something taking us, transitioning us back to the next. We've got the foreground, then we've got the middle ground, and we've got the background. And we come in through the foreground beautifully, kind of dead end here into the near middle ground. And it's hard for the viewer to transition all the way into the background. That's probably my primary graphic question with it. This form of the tree, it being so, the center being right there and the apex of the tree, and it's kind of a uniform rise to the apex right there. I'd be careful about that. I would tend to put that a little over to the side, unless you want this to be the subject matter. And I don't feel like that tree is the subject matter. The song you are writing here, the tale you are telling, is about the beautiful light on these, goldenrod, but on these plants. And that, the love of that, and the lyricism of this passage. I mean, this is lovely to look at, the way you've broken up. This is a hard edge there, but then it's very soft here. That's that kind of mauve in the shadow there that relates to me. You've done a color. I'm not a colorist, but I really like how this mixed mauve seems to me to be a blend of this, looks like an alizarin and whatever grayish blue this is. So the more I look at it, the more kind of the harmonies of the purples are showing up. I mean, and then you have purple in light here, but I mean, all this in here just seems delicious to me. And that makes this is the area I have the hardest time with. It doesn't have the same lyricism to me that you do there. Also, these contrasts are awfully strong. I might fleck more little bits of light in here, because I mean, it's hard. Us human beings are always looking to see patterns, and it ends up, to me, it looks kind of like shadow animals, with that you do with your fingers. So I maybe make it a little less strong. It can either be kept graphically that strong, or the contrast could stay that strong with more breaking up of the darks, or you could lessen the contrast between the light and the dark and keep the shapes that strong. But as it is right now, I find that a little bit overpowering, not fatally. Also, be careful of what my friend Mitch Baird refers to as the marching soldiers, which are repeating shapes. Humans tend to make a lot of repeating shapes. So if you look at the yellow, I'm now over it. Can people see my cursor? I'm over here.
Yes.
This mark, this mark, this mark, this mark, and this mark kind of seem to be orbiting that the center bright center bright area in kind of, there's a certain uniformity of it. So I'd like to see a little more close observation down here in the shadows. I'd like to see a little more transition through here. The color world, it goes kind of flat and cold in here. If that could get warmed up a little, we could see back a little bit more with this lusciousness. Then I think the lyricism here would just would really sing. But this portion where I'm circling the cursor now, I just love that. Just love it.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, this is Linda. Gray day, study plein air, water oil on 6x9 canvas, Skokie Pond. Are you here, Linda?
I am. Hello, Charlie.
Hi, Linda. Okay, now thing I like about this, I like that you pushed the horizon line. The horizon line being up in the upper third. Everyone knows the rule of thirds. So top third, middle third, bottom third. So you push the horizon line up. So this is not a sky painting. This is a, the water is the song here. Now I will say, how long? Tell me how long this study was.
Not that long. I can't remember exactly. It was probably a couple hours because I'm really slow. But
Okay.
I wanted to help with it because on a gray day, it was hard to see much. I couldn't make the water very exciting. So I'd love to know your input about it.
Right, right. Well, I am one of the world's worst water painters. So take anything I say with a large grain of salt. But what I think works about it is if you squint down, that is closing your eyes about halfway, I like the big flat plane of the water. You've got the water laying down very well, and the eye travels back to you've got the lighter gray water in the over by the far shore. I think the passage of the grayish water and the far shore works absolutely beautifully. It reminds me of Constable, or some of those British landscape painters. The brush strokes work perfect back here. Here, they're sort of round. Mm-hmm. So right now it works okay because the contrast is so slight. But what a lot of painters will do is bump the contrast up a little bit to make it more visually interesting. If you did that, I think you would have a problem that the water would no longer lie down. See, and I do know that our cell phone cameras, they tend to bump the contrast a little bit, so it may be more noticeable on this than it would be in real life. But I see these kind of roundish brush strokes that I think if you did try to make it more visually exciting would cause the brush strokes would appear to stand up in the water. Mm-hmm. So my major critique on this would be to pay a lot of attention about how you lay down your brush strokes in the water. Let's go back to this far area here, because what I want to point out are these little highlights, where the brush strokes, I believe, are horizontal. The shoreline brush strokes, these grayish blues, are horizontal, and then the water is predominantly horizontal. But the foliage, you break up the land, the sandy bank, let's call it, with these passages that relate the dark edge of the shore to the tree mass. And I think that you've got these horizontals, but then you're breaking it up with those verticals. And I think that works great. Thing to watch out for, the water disappears similarly on both sides.
Mm.
This may be a tiny bit of water reappearing over there. I would make that a little bit bigger. Because right now, we, the viewer, we come sailing in happily, la-di-da, di-da, di-da, oh, beautiful, beautiful, oh, I'm trapped. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. Oh, I'm trapped.
Mhm.
So the viewer, we don't go beyond, we're not let out lyrically. This, do you have any flats? Are you working mostly with rounds and filberts? What do you got?
I can use a flat. I can tell that's
I
a,
would do some, just take some India ink and your flat, not on this painting, but just on a piece of paper, and play with the edges more, just because I like your seeing here, but the brush stroke itself, this stroke and this stroke they feel kind of the same. And then this one, when I start A-Bing this stroke and this stroke, they're similar in feel. So I think you've got a really, really, really good tonal sense. Work a little on the composition here. Don't trap the viewer. And think about the shape of your brush strokes. That would be, if there's one thing I can leave you with. But I think, you know, I'm looking at this for a couple of hours study. There's nice, the edges aren't too strong between the edge of the tree line and the sky. So there's a nice uniform, this does not feel like it's the same brush stroke over and over again up here. So there's a lot of nice stuff happening on this. So good job.
so helpful. Thank you so much.
You bet. Now we have this one. This is amazing to me that someone, who's this? Barbara.
Yes,
Barbara,
hello.
here. Did you just wake up one morning and say, I want to paint my mailbox?
Well, this was someone else's mailbox, actually.
Oh, I want to paint someone else's mailbox.
Mhm.
I'm sick of painting my own mailbox. I want to paint somebody else's mailbox for a while. The thing I love is seeing, again, what stories people choose to tell from this that seems so unpromising to me. What was the song you were singing? Tell us, Barbara. What were you thinking when you thought I'm going to paint? My gosh, I'm going to paint this.
Well, I think it was a walk that I was on in South Carolina a couple of years back, and it's in a gated community, and there's a lot of big various things, and there's a lot of little passages and pathways and walks up to houses and so forth. And it was in the fall, and so there's this, along the walk, I just picked up a bunch of references that I could work with. And I saw this all by its lonesome, and I liked it. So
Cool. Well, the graphic challenge here is this very, very strong zigzag shape, that diagonal. The great strength of this, I think, is the color harmonies. You get a real sense of that autumnal feel. You've pushed it from, you know, this feels colder, whereas this feels so warm and loving. It's loving the feeling of that fall day, you know. I think you've broken up the foliage with the sky holes nicely. There's a nice variety of size of the mark differentiation in here. Down here, you've mixed in a little bit of the warmth of the foliage into the sky color. And that, I think, really works beautifully between here and like up here where it's clearer, you know, where it's cleaner. So that beautifully seen color there. Or the atmospherics are beautiful. And I love how the rocks reflect the sky color. It feels that the light on the rocks
Mhm.
feels very, very, I believe it. I would like to see a little warmth in these dark, dark shadows. One of the great lessons that I learned, you folks know the painter Michelle Dunaway. She's from Alaska, now lives in Albuquerque, but a terrific, terrific painter. And she taught me to always keep my darkest darks warm, because that invites the viewer in. It's counterintuitive. We think the darkest darks should be cold, but it makes it kind of like a wall. Because down here, this just feels, we've got all this luscious warmth here, but the coldness here, I don't go into these spaces.
Okay.
Okay, so that's just the thought. Now, I think you've done very well with this. I do get the sense of going up, that the road is curving up. I would be very, very scared of a shape, because of a shape that's that strong of a zigzag. So I'd be afraid that the viewer would go up, hit that chrome over there, and just bounce right off the painting. And I don't. I think you've unified it enough with the color world, or the tonal world, that the viewer stays in the painting, even with that strong diagonal. You've also broken that overpowering caroming with the strong vertical of the mailbox. In a perfect world, I would like to see the mailbox tie in with the sky color, because I think that could beautifully tie these different verses of your song together. But I mean, that would have meant, getting down, lying on your stomach on the dirt road, picture of the mailbox. So we're all students here. I don't begrudge you that. But you see what I'm saying right now, there's no element. You've got the lightness, but it ends there until it starts up again here. I would like to see it stitch a little bit more. Here in the grasses, and maybe have like one of the grasses also working as a stitch between the road, the grasses, into the pole, and the pole goes up into the sky. I mean, I'm not saying literally do this on this painting, but I'm just think about how we tie all the elements of a painting together to make it be a harmonious whole, as opposed to one nicely observed passage and another nicely observed.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But,
So more integrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, look at this line. This is a little, I don't quite believe this line, because I feel like the painter is saying to the viewer, hey, this is the front of the mailbox and this is the road.
Okay.
And we would be able to intuit that. Your drawing is good enough that I think we would be able to intuit. You've got a different tone there. I think you could let go of the hardness of that line right there.
Okay.
But anyway, but again, this is beautiful stuff up here that you got going on. Nice stuff. Look
Thank
at
you
that.
very much.
Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Making that out of that. Astonishing. Sandra Brewer Pfeiffer, are you here?
I am here.
All right, okay. I'm just, anybody who's not here, let's see, there's not a reference photo on this one. No, okay.
Oh,
All
I'm
right.
sorry, I forgot to
That's
put
okay.
it up.
No biggie. I just I'm just want to make sure I do it right. So now, was this from life, or were you?
Oh yeah. It was about an hour's worth of some old acrylics I'm trying to use up, and it's the Pond, which is in Lincoln Park. It's a restaurant.
Okay. What I really like on this is the delight that I feel I feel like you are in love with this portion of the painting, with the kind of, it's almost like an homage to Mondrian here, of the kind of prairie architecture, art, the breaking up of the spaces with the grid work of the building. I love the yellows and ochres that you've got going on there. And I like that you tie them in over here, that those elements continue. The color world, the value world, these oranges continue over here. And I admire that you are able to take the red of the parasols, and you use the flowers, the steps, the potted plants. You take us all the way across. The integration of color is really good. I think in the colors up here are a little, they feel a little bit muddy. To me, it feels like you may have tried one color, it dried, and then you painted over it. I mean, that's one of the awful things with acrylic, is that they dry.
Right, I changed it after. I picked up on it after I had posted it and said, that's bad, and I changed it.
Okay, okay. But now, again, I will,
for my heart and for fun, so that's
but
it.
what I'll say works here is that this relates, the color here relates to that color. It just is, this is isolated and this is isolated. So you've tied things together here with the reds going all the way across to here and all the way there. But these darks, this is a very isolate shape, it feels to me. And up here, it doesn't feel as carefully seen as what you've got going on down here. Also, now you're working, use up those acrylics and then get yourself some good paint. Acrylic, I mean, I use acrylic in the studio, but I do not use it for plein air anymore.
Yeah, it dries so fast.
It dries so fast, and then, you can't, I guess you could scrape it off. So maybe if you're going to be working with acrylic, a smoother surface so that you really could take a palette knife to it and scrape off. Because using these canvas boards, the canvas boards, I'm not a big fan. My mother always used to say, a poor workman blames his tools, Charles. But I, in my later years, have come to believe that cheap canvas boards are really hard to paint on unless you are a painter who paints really thick. If you're painting it all thinly,
okay,
the divots, it's hard to get the paint out of there. So I think right now you are, how much more of this acrylic do you have?
Oh, a lot, unfortunately.
Use it in the studio. Get yourself a simple, try, you might really love like the Zorn palette. A real simple, or you might like have you tried water mixable oils yet? That's what I use.
No, not yet. I don't need to buy any more stuff. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, keep using up those acrylics then, and try to think about, again, pretty much everybody, think about stitching the pieces of the painting together, because this area and this area remain sort of isolated. Now, I do appreciate that you've got all these sky holes in there, but they are, the tone of them is a little, the value seems a little intense for something that's that
where they are
here.
Yeah. I got it.
But they do relate nicely. This relates to those, and the little bits of the indigos and stuff up here relate to those blues nicely.
I got a question. You said that these boards are not the best. What should I be using with acrylic outside? A paper with gesso? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that you see the divot, the weave up in there. It's so intense. If you've got a thick-bodied acrylic, a coat or two of that to just knock those down a little bit, But ideal if you've got heavy watercolor paper that you could gesso and stuff, I think that's easier to paint on than these things myself.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
So Charlie, before you go on, could you take a second and just talk about using water mixable oils? It's a comment and a question that comes up regularly.
Yeah, they take a little getting used to, just as any painting medium, any painting formulation. You've got to get used to it. And I feel a little bad mouthing acrylic, because there are people who do beautiful acrylic painting. Maybe get some retarder to keep it open longer. That if you don't have retard, well, one more thing to buy. But water mixable oils, the thing that's wonderful about them is the cleanup is a breeze. There's no toxic fumes, like even Gamsol, even though it's far better than minerals, than regular hardware store mineral spirits. Still, the fumes aren't good for you. And the thing I love about water mixable oils is I can do my initial pass in almost a watercolor style. I can do a monochromatic, I can do a block in, a tonalist block in and pull out with paper towel and stuff. And then I can go in with traditional fat over lean, using various mediums and oils to build up a much more painterly, something that's much more like an oil painting. So the paintings can exist in kind of this weird in between watercolor, what we think of watercolor looking like, and what we think of oil painting looking like. They stay open, water mixable oils stay open. If you're painting in Santa Fe on a windy day, they close up pretty fast just because the water evaporates in the low humidity area. But I use them for plein air painting across the country. If I'm in a place like, if I was in Santa Fe on a sunny, windy day, I would just oil the surface slightly before I started painting on it. And that's something that traditional oil painters do as well. You oil the surface, and that keeps the paint from absorbing into the substrate as quickly. So, I mean, water mixable oils, the prime frustration people have is that they expect that they're going to behave exactly like oil paints. And they just don't. Water does not behave exactly like mineral spirits. But once you get the hang of it, they're great. Yeah. And
do you have a brands that you like, or is it like oils that you might have different colors and different brands?
Well, I am a brand ambassador for Cobra, which is made by Royal Talents, which makes Rembrandt. So basically, it's Rembrandt oil colors in a water mixable formula, and they are artist grade. And in fact, if people are interested in trying water mixable oils, buy a couple of tubes of Cobra, and if you don't like it, you can just use them as if they were regular oil paints. They don't know they're water mixable until you add water. So you can just, they're completely intermixable with traditional oils. Cobra is great. Duo, made by Holbein, are also artist grade. Winsor Newton makes a line called Artisan. The quality control of that goes up and down. You may have noticed in conventional oil, Winsor Newton is getting all over the place as well. And that's because they got purchased by a hedge fund a couple of years ago. And they're just, the quality control is, the people who own it are trying to milk as much money out of the company as they can, which is really sad. But I started out using the Winsor Newton Artisans, and I still use their water mixable safflower oil. So, all right, absolutely. Sue, are you here? Is Sue here?
Yes, Charlie, I'm here.
All right, good, just checking. All right. 1114 oil on canvas peril, gangway in Barrington. Now this one, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at that. I do not see the same divoting. The weave of this does not seem as pronounced of the substrate. So just notice that. Also notice, is this, yeah, this is oil. It's a canvas panel.
Yeah, it's oil.
It's a fairly smooth canvas panel though, is it? Is it not? Or
Well,
is,
I did a thin wash first.
yeah, but what was the surface? Was it one of those cotton canvas panels?
Yeah, it was a cotton canvas panel.
All right, well,
Or it may have been linen. I'd have to double check.
it looks a little smooth to be canvas. Anyway, I won't get us into the weeds.
Yeah.
All right, what I like about this, ladies and gentlemen, is we start out in this kind of Pierre Bonnard shade in the foreground of these lovely mauves, and then the eye travels up, along the walk into this area of light, and then that relates to the architectural shapes back there, and those same tones are seen throughout. So we have a nice sense of moving through space. Remember the one, Mary's, of the goldenrod, where I said that the eye dead ends. The fact that there are the mauves and the light back here, the pinkish ochreish light, there are references to it throughout over here. So I think that works well. We move from the foreground back to the middle background, and I assume it's an architectural, there are architectural elements back there. I don't need to know exactly, but I've got the sense of depth that I crave. The passages up here, I think this is a very beautiful passage. The dark, that's so dark right there. It looks almost like pastel application here. It looks like almost a pastel application right here of paint. And then down here, of course, it looks much more like oil painting. So do try to unify. If they're going to be elements like this, I would like to see as carefully observed as the almost knife-like cuts here. I would like to see in some passages, especially in the foreground, because whatever is closest to us tends to be sharpest. I have a cat who's objecting to my criticism. Hey, if you want the good food, you go into the other room and hush. Now, down here, the base of the tree, I don't think we have a reference photo, no. The base of the tree, that seems harsh and abrupt.
That was actually a lamppost.
Okay, the base of the lamppost seems harsh and abrupt. This line, you do break it up, but it starts at the bottom, the bottom right-hand corner of the painting, and goes up to goes up at a diagonal. That's seems a little harsh to me as well. I would like it to get cut into a bit more. The geometric shapes, this zigzag, I'm of two minds about it. If I isolate it, I like it. I like how it has this big, backward Z, which I know would be an S, but it's a Z. No, I'm sorry, people are calling me and I'm unavailable. I'm sorry. Anyway, you break that up with these side excursions. So I think that works very nicely. But then here, well, tonally, I think this works very well. It feels to me like the eye moves back from the front to right here, and then this, I guess it's this line and the coldness of the street feels like kind of, it's hard for the eye to go beyond there. This is isolating to me. Also, the car is so unto itself in this. And it being kind of right in the center, it feels isolating, or it feels isolated to me. It does not feel integrated into the full into the full scene quite so much. One thing to be careful of, and this is where drawing is really, really helpful. We tend to, with automobiles, since we know tires are round, we tend to make things rounder than they actually are. When we look at the reality of a car, of a tire, it's really the wheel well and a shadow, and there's usually a shadow at the base of the tire as well. So this isolated round shape, I would like to see that a little more observed rather than told. Now, the other things that I like the trees and the way that the tree trunks appear and then disappear behind the branches and then reappear. I think this is a very nice passage over here. I like that you are being not literal with these intense blues. And also, you know, as I say, I love this dark passage. It just feels like there's several different languages being spoken here. So as you work on additional stuff, think about bringing elements from each area into other areas of the painting. Does that make sense?
Great, perfect sense. Thanks, Charlie.
Awesome, thank you.
Charlie, while you're moving to the next one,
Yes.
can you just say one more thing about when you said that about something being observed, better observed than told?
Yeah. Well, my other shorthand for that is hieroglyphics. The people know that a car has 4 round tires. So we tend to paint 4 round tires, even if what we're actually seeing is something that is mostly in shadow. We go. It's really hard to break ourselves out of the habit of. We're trying to communicate. We're trying to communicate both a literal, as figurative painters, as realist painters. We're trying to communicate both a literal scene in front of us and a kind of an emotional response to that scene. And where we often go into the weeds is when we are trying to convey to the viewer the literal truth of the thing that we are looking at, as opposed to the feel of it, which is actually, let's go to Steve's right now, because I think this is a wonderful example of it. This is what Steve was working from. And shrimp boats are hard, ladies and gentlemen. Shrimp boats are hard. Steve, are you here?
I am, Charlie, thanks.
This is great. This is great. I love this painting. Look at what he does up here. Look at this up here. You all know the great painter Patrick Lee. Patrick Lee's the anagram for his name. His name is Patrick S. Lee, and so the anagram is ick, part eel, or ick, eel parts. That's it. But anyway, Patrick S. Lee is wonderful at doing these, just falling in love with shape. And what Steve is doing up here is he's not telling us about every bit of this rigging. That's not what his song is about. His song is about the feel of that rigging. just this is just magnificent because it's hard. There's these sharp edges, and then he goes into the softness of the passage over here on the far right, and the color shifts are lovely. And look how he's just done these very painterly sky shapes. That must be like out of the tube.
Yeah.
That's super thick. Is it it's a mixed color because it's not a pure titanium white.
Yeah, it was a kind of a gray evening, overcast evening, and it was mixed.
Yeah. So anyway, so what Steve is doing is he's not trying to tell us the hieroglyphic of this is a boat with a mast. He is like saying the cacophony of these shapes against that lowering evening sky, and the shrimp nets, just very, very deftly seen. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And then I guess did you tone the panel first?
I used an underpainting, kind of a warm glow to that boat.
Yeah, the warm orange. That's underpainting. So that's what was originally on the substrate showing through the painting layers. This is nice. This is nice painting, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all should spend some time looking at this. And look how he just lets things, see my cursor? He's letting things drip there and letting that make the scene. And these beautiful strokes. That's a kick-ass painting, ladies and gentlemen. That's a kick-ass painting. Good job, Steve.
It actually sold off the easel.
Yeah. Not surprised. Where was that?
This is in the Apalachicola.
Appalach. I love Appalach. Oh, that's at that goddamn marina. I've never done a good painting there. That's whipped my ass every single time I've ever been there.
Plein, that was a demo for Plein Air South.
Yeah. Well, that's a kick-ass painting.
Thank you.
So, let's see. Yelena?
Yes, I'm.
Hey, how are you?
Hello. I'm good.
So this is what you were working off of?
Yes, let's work near my house.
Well, I am mighty impressed because I look at that. If I was trying to do a painting off of that, I'd be like, that's going to get the better of me. This is a beautiful witnessing of, this is talking about what something feels like, you know? She's not doing a literal truth here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the tree branches, how the branches up here are reaching down to the branches that are coming up. Design-wise, that's fantastic. And this almost kind of snowy passage through here. I love all the juicy paint handling. The architecture and the foreground is a bit challenging, and this pipe going across, I think I would lose that. I would lose that pipe. It's such a jarring cutting of the viewing plane. Either break it up more with the bushes or pretend it wasn't there at all. That's if you're doing a finished studio piece. If you're working plein air, yeah, just be aware it's gonna mess with your composition to have something that man-made, that uniform, cutting across.
Okay, I see. I tried to take it out. Mm-hmm.
You know, or I would not take it out of this painting. I mean, everything we do, I'm happy with about 1 out of every 12 to 20 paintings. You know,
I know.
I certainly, a lot of what I do never sees the light of day, but I'm always learning from it. Unfortunately, then again, I forget the next day, but But just, there's so much that's so good on this that I would urge you to just keep doing stuff as opposed to overworking this. This passage up here on the upper left, that's beautiful. That's
Thank you.
beautiful. And
This one. Mhm.
oh yeah, it's like this mix of El Greco and Van Gogh, but then the branches that they're kind of grasping. You know, they're. This is someone seeing the world in a way I don't see the world. And that's the joy of painting. That's why we're doing this, ladies and gentlemen. The architectural shape, that's a little clunky. That's a little thick. So keep working on your architectural stuff, but damn, your natural world, lady, you got it going on. That's lovely.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So amazing. I would never be able to build that out of this. I doff my cap. I'll put on a cap so I can doff it. I doff my cap to you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's awesome.
Okay, now, Karen, the original is it's up there. Yeah. Karen, are you here?
I am.
All right. All right. Now is this a watercolor?
Yes.
Yeah, 14 watercolor. Let's start in the lower right. And that's where I, as the viewer, am led in, because these beautiful lines, we come strolling in. Very tricky, you got this fence, which is a real barrier, it's a literal barrier, and you've got the big potted plant, which is in front of the way that we come through, but you make it work with this light, the yellowish light behind the planter on the right side, and then you continue it over here. We make it around the planter and we go through. You kept that little bit open.
Okay.
We go through, we're in there, which is beautiful. And we're in this convivial scene with all these totally convincing people in there. The light, it's like that Hemingway short story of a clean, well-lighted place. Beautiful, fantastic. This whole passage is just masterful. The lettering, to me, is it would be a terrific piece of commercial art for the Trattoria.
Yeah.
It's a little overly clear for probably what the reality looked like at night.
Okay.
But you know, that's cool. Up here, these windows, they're not Edward Hopper windows, but they're pretty damn good. And you got the angle right. That all reads correctly. And a pro tip, ladies and gentlemen, and she exemplifies it right here. Pro tip, if you've got 4 windows, don't paint them all the same. Don't ever paint 2 windows exactly alike. They're both, big square. They're all 4 are one big square on top of another big square, but she breaks them up into these beautiful they're like little jazz riffs. Each one of them is a little solo. I think that's terrific.
Thank you.
The areas I would suggest working on is the roundness of this shape, the kind of lozenge-ishness of the shape. I find that distracting. I don't quite trust all these stars. Again, it feels to me a little like a piece of commercial art for the Trattoria to have the stars be so visible. There'd probably be so much light, ambient light from the reflection, from the brightness of the restaurant, you would not see that number of stars. And then this the tree shape on the left, the way it goes back right here at the corner,
Mhm.
it kind of forces this into looking almost like a false front.
Oh.
You know, it's
Uh-huh.
be careful. Be careful of your trees. Your trees, I mean, all this is so damn good. You're hanging plants. So it's not that foliage is your enemy. I think just trees are your enemy.
Ah.
The tree on the left has more delicacy than the tree on the right.
Yeah.
But boy, I mean, so up the top half of the painting, the top, if you take the four windows away, the top half of the painting is not as strong as the bottom half of the painting.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that only because the bottom of the half of the painting is so damn strong. And then the four windows are so damn strong.
Thank you.
So I think it's, I mean, you could spend so much time looking at all this action going on inside the restaurant. And again, ladies and gentlemen, just look at the shadows of the tree on the street. See, down here, the tree is your friend. It just, up here, it turns on you like a mad dog. But oh, the shadows, they're so lovely. And we just move, we just move from that lower right up through into the restaurant. Lovely, lovely.
Thank you very much.
Tom, are you here? Well, the hell with you, Tom. Tom not here? I guess not. But I'll just look at this very quickly.
Charlie, I'm here. It took me like 10 minutes to unmute.
Oh, okay.
I'm so glad to be here. I was going to sign up for your Lowell, Michigan workshop, but anyway, you're here, and I've got video. And everybody who was asking about how to use water mixable oils, watch that video. It's so cool with the spray bottle and everything.
Yeah, the cats thank you. The cats thank you.
Yeah.
So is this conventional oil? This is conventional oil, right?
Yeah.
Is this water mixable? Okay, so this is what Tom was working from, and this is a fantastic painting. Fantastic painting. It reminds me of David Boyd. If you all know David Boyd down in Noonan, Georgia. I just also Eric Jacobson in terms of the color mixing. The color mixing is just world class, world class. And the brushwork. Look at the tree shape of the tree on the right. It's a sage green. He's got the sage green going on. He's got cold shadows, but it works fine. And I don't understand why it works fine. I would think it would flatten out. But look at how the dark shapes are stitched together across the canvas. Look at my cursor. That one shadow shape, it goes up into the far background and continues with some tonal variation, but it's still one large shape across into here. And it does end there, but it continues. It feels so integrated that actually the breaking up here, I think really, really works. If it continued across, it might prevent the viewer from, because we enter obviously on the roadway, and then we pass through the valley of the shadow with a couple of little highlights. But really, I think what we're doing is basically taking a little detour going up through here and then continuing on. And then we go into the lightness over here. And I think it really helps that there's this shape on the far left against the darkness of the woods. If it was just a hard dark line right there, I think that would really the eye really wouldn't know where to go. But I think this area is very important. But look at the beautiful brushwork all in here, and how he goes from the kind of the pure blues down into the kind of roseate area close to the horizon. Really, really nicely seen, really nice variance of sizes. The only negative things I could say is this edge feels a little bit, I don't hate it, but it feels maybe a little bit hard. And then up here, the edge feels a little bit hard. The edge between the roadway and the grass. But again, it's not fatal. See here on the right-hand side, between the roadway and the grass, it's not quite as hard as it is there. And I think this area works. It works a little bit better, but I do like that it is not uniform, that this is not uniform to that. The only other negative thing I could think of saying, and it doesn't even particularly bother me, is that it does look like the field steps up behind, somewhere back here. The field, this is the horizon line, and then it goes up a little bit. But that's nitpicky on my part. You get a pass on that. Yeah, look at his edges, ladies and gentlemen. Look, this is what we look at. This is what we aspire to when we think about edges. Look at right here, sharp, sharp edges. Here, softer edges. The eye does not get tired of looking at this. Masterful job, Tom. I'm going to keep railroading through to see how far we can get.
Can I ask a quick question?
No, of course you can.
Well, when I got your video, I didn't go out and buy all the water mixable oils. Can you really successfully create those kind of effects with traditional oils?
Can you create the same washy effects with traditional oils? They're going to look a little bit different just because Gamsol or mineral spirits does not behave exactly like water. But you can get very close. You can get very close to it. You can get beautiful effects. I don't like. I mean, what you want with those washy effects with the water is you want it evaporating fast, and I just don't want to be breathing quickly evaporating mineral spirit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can get those effects.
Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Sir, but you don't, and I know conventional oil painters who do have solvent in spray bottles, and they're atomizing. With all this stuff about COVID, we now know atomizing droplets in the air, not good. That's why I like having water in there rather than turpentine, you know. So anyway, okay, Muriel, are you here, Muriel?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Muriel. Okay. This is very beautifully seen. This is just making sure there wasn't a photo of it. Hey, Plein Air Painter Chicago, what the hell did I do? Oh no, it's been going so well.
Post a reference.
Here we go. Okay. This is very, very carefully seen. Was this working from life?
I was painting life a different perspective. This is not from life. This is actually, I took the picture. And
from a photo, yeah, because the amount of detail that you've got, it feels like it's probably a photo reference, just because the light would be changing so much. It's 8:20 now, so I've got to end in 10 minutes. So I just got to be pretty quick going on now. What I would urge you to do is let go of edges a little bit more. Right now, you've got all these very carefully observed, very beautifully observed components, but their integration into a seamless whole feels a little bit. Each thing seems a little bit isolated. The edge here is constant, Okay, the edge there is constant. Your values are so good. I would like to see, this feels, it feels a little like it's floating on the grass surface as opposed to sitting in it. There's so much that's so good in this. The way you have managed to repeat the Gothic architectural forms, that is so hard because those are identical. There's no way you could make them identical in a painting, the hand of unless you were doing something with T-squares and stuff. But it reads really strongly. And yet it's not, that does not feel stilted at all to me. Here, probably between the fountain and the Gothic window on the right is where the edge is lost to the greatest degree. And I really like that passage because you've got the light, the precision on the fountain against kind of a slightly softer passage of the way that you're doing the window there. But you are letting the edge disappear a little. I think that's masterful. I also like how back here, especially back here, it goes soft as opposed to all the hardness that you've got in the architectural forms. I also think this passage of the on the left-hand side of the repeating Gothic windows with the foliage in front of it works very well. I like these doorways extremely much. The warm darks as opposed to the colder darks here. Remember what I was saying about warmer darks inviting us in and colder darks making kind of a barrier? I think that doorway on the right is beautiful. Do note in the drawing, if you're going to be being this precise in the drawing, it's starting to curve down. The sidewalk is starting to curve down a little.
Yeah, I tend to tilt. Yes.
Yeah. So just if you're gonna be this precise, you gotta keep the illusion going. So step back. If you bought my video, you'd know one of the most important things
I'll do that.
to drink coffee, step back and go, I learned that from Jeremy Lipkin, from painting with Jeremy Lipkin. He spends so little time painting and so much time drinking coffee and just looking at what he's doing. But damn, Muriel, this up here, that pale green against the brick, the far brick, that's lovely. You got some beautiful stuff going on this. But yeah, be careful of that drifting downwards there. But really nice, really nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, now we have another church. Anne, are you here?
I am here.
All right. And so is this, this is oil, what size was it?
This is 11 by 14.
1114, okay. From life or from photo?
It's partly from life, and then I had to revert to photo in the studio.
All right, the thing I like about this is it's got like a whimsy to it of I like the color world that you go into with that building. It's not a literal, we're not looking at a literal scene. But these pinks against the purples, the stacking up of the architectural shapes, I think works really well. And the whimsy of the is it hydrangeas? Ground-hugging hydrangeas?
Yes, they're hydrangea. Okay.
I think that leads us in nicely. It's almost like they are the the parishioners heading to the church, because they've got the elements of the pink that then appears in here. And I like the way the trees knit together and kind of vignette the architectural shape. The color world of the trees is so different from that of the architectural shapes. And this, is that like, what? Oh, it's a lamp, okay. I thought it was one of those smokers kiosks. A lot of smokers in that church. But the darkness of that vertical is so kind of, I'm looking for the darkness and the heart and the sharpness of that shape are so sort of isolated. That passage doesn't integrate into the full thing as well as it.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. The figures, the pink of the skirt is a little, I would like to see that element appear in a couple of other places. But you know, the way the pink and blues of this building and this building, that's the dialogue that you've got going is beautiful. And the way you're using the branches to knit the two trees together is beautiful. Just the color language of the trees versus the color language of the buildings doesn't tie in fully to me. But I really like your vision. I mean, oh, and I'm not quite sure what's going on up here. You know, if there's more building that's going on up there, what is this, some building?
Yeah, there is more building up there, but I didn't want to draw too much attention.
Oh, you just
to
got,
it.
yeah, you just got sick of drawing building by that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to see that resolved a little bit more. Just going blurry up there and going at that, you're not going to get away with that in my farm. So anyway, really fun though. Really love the hydrangeas and then the structure. And there's a lot going on architecturally there. So good stuff. Oh man, so that's what it was. Oh man, oh, I love it. Yeah, I'm glad you left the car out. It's too magical to have the car in there. Yeah, see now, the lamppost is the same color language as the tree, so at least you could have integrated those verticals a little bit more, I think. You're trying, I see what you're trying. This is hard, ladies and gentlemen, this painting stuff, not easy. Good job, good job.
So Charlie, we're at 7:28 here.
I'm gonna go for one more. I love doing this. Is this useful what I'm doing, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
But
it's very useful.
I'll just do this one more. Okay, so this was source.
Yep.
And that's what we got. Now, Anne, are you?
Yes, I am. Hi.
Okay. I love everybody's vision. I love that you built this, and I love this shape on the graphically. I think this is just such a cool painting. That
Thank you.
The positive and negative shapes are utterly satisfying to look at. And the playing of with the roots in the dark, I think is just wonderful. I mean, I could look at this for ages. Just all these, it's like a Roger Dean album cover of the 1970s, if you know his stuff. The Yes album covers. And then here, it starts looking, you know, it's mythical looking. I do wish I do wish up here, I would like to see that come off, that the hardness that you've got here, it gets soft right at the edge, right there. And I don't know why exactly, but my design sense is that needs to stay hard going up there. The stitching that you've got going on here and the utter confidence of the way you are seeing things right here, it feels it's a little more tentative up here. The values can stay exactly the same. It's just, I think I want to see the precision, just a hair more, leading us off on the screen on this. But I also, other things I really like the perspective changes, that this is at a greater angle than, you know, this is basically straight up and down vertical. And then the angle just gets more and more increased. So you know you're looking up at this, this tree root. Is this like a big tree that got knocked over in a storm?
It died. It's a nurse log. It's a big log, and then seeds, you know, germinate and grow out of it like a beast, like a big beast.
Oh well, it does. It looks like mythology here. I mean, it does look like a beast. I think it's a terrific little painting. What size was it?
12 inches by 12 inches.
12 by 12. Nice. Really nice job. All right. Okay, so I've got to stop here because I do a reading at 8:45 every night. Not every night, on Wednesday nights. On Wednesday nights, I read Robert Benchley, and on Sunday nights, I read James Thurber. But it has been a joy to look at all these pieces. It's great stuff.
Well, Charlie, thank you so much for doing this for us. There are many requests for you to come out and do this again for us, or maybe even come out and be with us at some point.
I'm doing fewer and fewer workshops. Workshops, I've during the COVID year, I've figured out workshops make me deeply unhappy because I lie awake at night and stare at the ceiling and feel responsible for everybody's happiness. This is much better. I just get to look at paintings and talk about them. I would love to come back and just continue this this crit session with what you've got.
I will then be in touch with you, and we'll figure out another time.
Yeah, and let's just keep going. But and I love to see if people if people do additional work that feels like it refers to this, you know, visit my Facebook page and let me see what you're working on, because I love seeing stuff.
Well, Charlie, thank you so much. And, you know, the readings that you do, can other people be a part of those?
Oh yeah, just they're on my personal Facebook page, which you can follow. But if right now I'm very political. I'm a lefty, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're, all persuasions are welcome on my personal page. They're just our opinions being given at this time. So.
Well,
yes.
if there was ever a time to be political, it's now.
I think.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. It's been a joy.
Thank you.
See you again.
Thank you,
Charlie.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.